What's up, folks, and welcome to an Indie Retro Ramble Fusion. And well, we're back in the land of true modern retro games today. We are looking at another one of the games published by 8-Bit Legit, which are games that were actually made for old systems that you can buy for old systems if you want, but which are also getting a release on modern consoles to make them a little bit more accessible. Covered a couple of these so far, and everything that they put out is very interesting. They're not games that are going to be for everybody, but that's kind of what I like about them. And this one has a little bit of an interesting history behind it. So we're taking a look today at Dead Tomb. I'm playing this on the Xbox, but it's on other machines as well. And well, this is an interesting one. You may have noticed a logo at the beginning there for the company Acclaim. And those of you who are around in the NES era, or even a bit later than that, are probably like, what the actual? Yeah, so Acclaim, it was at one time a prominent developer and publisher that went under back in the early 2000s. Their name has been traded around between several companies over the years, and it is currently in the hands of Collector Vision Games, which is a small developer based out of Quebec in Canada, which is where I'm from. Well, Canada, not Quebec. But they've acquired the Acclaim name and are now putting it on their stuff. And Dead Tomb in particular is even more interesting. I'm going to pull up the manual here so that I can show this to you. But if you were around in Quebec in particular in the 80s and 90s, there was a system there called Video Way, which was a set-top box that you could have that gave you sort of interactive television. We had something here in the Ottawa area called the Naboo at one point. This is kind of sort of like that. And there was a handful of games you could play on them. And one of them was a point-and-click game called Temporal Inc. And this is actually a tribute to that. It's their attempt to recreate this game that only a niche within a niche of people would have ever played, but that they thought was a really interesting title and that they wanted to sort of remake so that more people could experience it. Cool concept, right? I think that's pretty interesting. And that's what they've done here. So just to start off, we've talked about other 8-Bit Legit games before. What they are is effectively an emulator that runs underneath or on top of Unity. There is no options in this at all to an unacceptable level. I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time rehashing that here, but there's basically no options, including save states. And this is the game that uses a password system. So if you're on the Xbox, you can rely on the often at best dodgy quick resume feature to avoid having to do that. But yeah, if you don't one-shot these games, you're going to need passwords. In 2024, that's ridiculous. Now, I have spoken to them about that, and they said that they're aware of the feedback, and it sounds like they're trying to do something to address it. And I hope they do that, and I hope if they do that they're able to backpatch it into their other releases, because that is the only thing that bums me out about these particular titles that they put out. All right, but that aside, here we are. So as I said, this is kind of a point-and-click game, and point-and-click games were not unheard of on consoles, but there weren't too many of them, to be sure. It's not a prolific genre on those systems. So what you do is you walk around the different rooms that you have here, and if there's something you can interact with, you get the little question mark over your head, you hit a button, and you got all these verbs that you can utilize with those. Some objects have no use whatsoever, others do. You have to kind of explore around and figure out what needs to be done with what. And there is an inventory as well, and you'll be collecting a number of different items throughout the game, interestingly enough, which are detailed in the manual here. So it actually shows you everything that you can pick up over the course of the game. And you'll see they've got some neat little tributes to the Game Boy and the Nintendo Zapper and even the Power Glove in there. And you're going to learn how to use those in different ways and combine them in order to, achieve your objectives here. So, as I said, everything that 8-Bit Legit puts out are games that actually were written for the NES. You can actually buy these on cartridges if you so desire. So while you are playing this on a modern system, this isn't like a lot of current modern retro games that take a little bit of creative liberty with the, they may be like, well, this is an NES game, but the music's a little better, or, something like that, right? So these are actual true to form NES games, which I think is really cool because programming for the NES, it requires some ingenuity in this day and age. So pretty cool if they're doing that. Okay, so you're seeing here a little bit about what the idea is. You're in this dead tomb, if you will. There is a story about this. You're actually from the future and you're sent back in time and things like that. There's a little bit of a story. It's an NES story, let's put it that way. But you got to explore through this dead tomb and, you know, use the things that are within the environment in order to basically figure out what you need to figure out in here. I have not finished this game yet, but it's initially it's not too difficult compared to some point and click games. So far, I haven't found a huge ton of what is often referred to as moon logic puzzles, right? Stuff where you're like, no one in their right mind that is a thinking human being would ever consider that, right? It hasn't been anything like that. Now it may get that way, but it actually hasn't been too bad thus far. So, but it's a cool little idea. You have these different rooms you have to go through, and you know, somebody said once, and I don't remember who it was, that your reward for completing objectives in adventure games is more content, right? It's new rooms, it's new things, it's new puzzles, it's new stuff to do. That's kind of how the game rewards you for completing things, and that's very much what this one does. So like I said, like some of the things, for example, like this is early on, so I don't mind showing this to you guys, but like this nail you have to take, right? This is something where it's not moon logic-y, but you got to think a little bit. You actually have to try to take this nail multiple times in order to get it. It kind of hints at it in the text that it's moving a little bit every time, but it's not obvious. And some people who don't think about that might be like, oh, come on, man, that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? And I kind of get that. And you see here, so I picked up a hammer and a nail. So I have them together now. And we have this. And then we want to tie the rope to the nail. And then I forget what I have to do here. I think is it the ring handle? No. I forget. Something I got to do to pull this door open. So, you know, things like that. I don't want to go too far into this, honestly, because in adventure games as well, kind of everything you show is a spoiler, right? In terms of puzzles and other little things that you can find here, right? Now, the one thing I will give this game credit for is that it is quite forgiving. So if you end up dying in this, you can hit continue and you just go back to the room that you're in. So it doesn't checkpoint you back a long way. It doesn't make you start the whole thing over again. It's, you know, it's not a big deal, right? I was gonna say there's... Okay. See, if I didn't have that antidote when this scorpion came out, I would have gotten stung and died, right? But you can just hit continue and go on. So it's fairly forgiving that way. Now, this map goes on for a bit. I actually don't know if the map fills out this entire pyramid that we have here. If it does, there's quite a number of rooms in this. This is not a game you can finish. Like, this is a game, if you had an actual walkthrough telling you, go here, do this, use this, you know, do this thing and this thing, yeah, you probably could finish this game in like 20 minutes. But it's supposed to be, the purpose of this is, you know, figuring things out, solving puzzles, learning how things work, you know, and the thrill of figuring things out for yourself, I guess, right? That's really the idea. So that's really the point of this, and that's what you're going to spend a lot of your time on. But it will take you, you know, it could take you a decent amount of time to get through this, and it's going to require a certain amount of patience and, you know, willingness to do that kind of thing, and that's not going to be for everybody. The point and click genre is still alive and kicking to this day, but it is very much a niche. Whereas back when I was growing up, especially on home computers, it was pretty much, for a few years, it was the dominant form of gaming. Think of the old Sierra and LucasArts games and things like that, right? So, and in this day and age in particular, this is definitely not for everyone. And one of the things that I do like about 8-Bit Legit is, that I said this before, is the games that they're putting out. Must have been a Tomb Raider. I understood that reference. One of the things I like about 8-Bit Legit is the games that they're putting out are not for everyone. Some of them are quite hardcore. You know, they're difficult. They really require you to think. They they don't hold your hand. They don't, they don't do like a Bethesda game where they put a thing on the map telling you exactly where you have to go. They require some patience and trial and error, and I've always respected that about them, about the things that they're putting out here, and that's what they've done here. This is a really interesting point and click style game that was built from the ground up for consoles. And they do a good job with that. When you're working with the NES, you only got 2 buttons, right? So they've done a good job here at translating the adventure game experience into an 8-bit console. Not everyone was able to do that super well, but like I said, it's not necessarily going to be for everybody. You're gonna need some time and patience for this, but I think it's well put together. I think it's I like the art style in it. Obviously you're in a pyramid, so it has this kind of brownish tone to everything, but I think it works well. Your character contrasts with it nicely. It's well put together. The music is NES music, so it's going to be quite short and repetitive, but it's well done, and I think it does a good job at figuring that out, right? So and providing that good experience like that. So yeah, I think this has been pretty cool. And will I finish it? I don't know, we'll have to see. But this is one of those games where I'm like, I can certainly see what's cool about this and why people would like it. And if you don't want to spend the money to buy it on an actual NES cartridge and play it on an actual NES, this is a perfectly serviceable way to do it. As I said before, they really need to put in things like save states into this. It doesn't really need that much more than that, honestly. This doesn't need the million different graphics options that some retro collections have. I think really, if it just had save states that you didn't have to worry about the relying either on Xbox quick resume or relying on having to actually write down passwords in this day and age, I don't think it'd be that bad, honestly. So that's my only real complaint, but other than that, this is a cool little game, and I love seeing stuff like this where a developer decided, hey, here's this game we grew up with that we really loved, and there's literally no way to play it anymore. Oh dear. Well, anti-Tomb Raider trap. Dirt. But yeah, I love how, so you see, we can just go continue and we're right back here. That's a nice modern quality of life thing. But I really love that this developer went, hey, here's this cool game that we grew up with that we loved that you literally can't play anymore, even if you want to, because the system is long dead. But we've got we've got this, we want to make something like that so that more people can experience it, even if it is a niche within a niche. I just think that's really cool, and I love to see stuff like that. And they did a faithful representation of it from what I can tell. So good on them for that. And if you like point and click games, and don't mind the retro aesthetic, I think you could have some fun with this, and it's definitely worth trying out. While it's got some nice modern quality of life improvements, it will still test you in the way that games of this genre probably should, honestly. So yeah, that is Dead Tomb. It is out now. Give it a look. Like I said, if you're interested in this stuff, just be prepared to maybe have to write some passwords down. That's the only thing I would say. But other than that, really cool little experience, and as usual, 8-bit legit always brings things that are quite interesting. So thank you guys all very much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you like what you saw here, please do all the YouTube things. Those really do help out a great deal. Leave a comment down below. Tell me, what do you think of this? What were some of your favorite point and click games growing up? I have my favorites, the Sierra and LucasArts games in particular, but there are lots of other ones. What are other point and click games, either modern retro or just modern in general, that you really like these days? There's quite a few of those. I'd like to know about that. And you can also follow me over at twitch.tv/pxabstraction. Streams are going to be coming back soon, trademark. I'm going to be focusing on retro stuff there for a while, focusing on what I call my deep backlog. Really looking forward to that. And we have a great little community there that I'd love to see be a part of. Thanks again, everybody, and I'll see you on the next Indie Ramble. You folks have yourselves a good one. Take her easy.